Happy Sunday, everybody. This is going to be the watch list for tomorrow, mainly the one that you're seeing that I post alongside with this video. And then the only really swing trading idea that really stood out to me was just Apple. Nothing else really called my name. But I'll just start with that for now. So on Apple, we have a nice 2-1 setup on the weekly. So if you're looking to go long, you could definitely look to potentially swing trade this. So once it breaks this high, 221 or 21240, you can definitely buy some calls. I would get them out at least 4 to 6 weeks out because it's off a weekly time frame. You do have a potential short here as well if it breaks this weekly low. We do have earnings at the end of this month. I probably wouldn't be looking for any shorts for Apple personally. But if you are inclined, you can definitely look to take a short once this breaks. As always, when it comes to strike prices, because it's a weekly time frame, looking at the ATR, I will probably just go like $4 out maximum. So if I'm going to take this weekly trade, the furthest I'm going to do for a strike is probably going to be like 216, 216.50, and then just keep it there. One thing to be mindful of, if you do take this to the upside, we do have some sell pressure here on from 2 weeks ago, as well as these broader information that we may get rejected off of. Some targets to consider if we do break above. So we have this broader information right over here at about 215.38. So that could be a potential first target. Your second target could be this wick high right over here. You can use this body as your next target if you want, but to me, it's kind of close to this target, so I would kind of just scratch that out personally. The next area I will be looking for is probably up here at around 224 if we get there for another target. You can also take it like somewhere in the middle here if you don't want to hold from that big move up. If you are inclined, so the daily has a double inside setup as well off this 3 bar. If you want to get in early, you can take the daily break instead, which will be a little earlier at 211.79. Just be mindful that if you are to take these earlier entries, the weekly is still going to be trading inside bar. So if it breaks the daily but does not break the weekly, you may be stuck in chop until one of them break. So something to be mindful of. The safer entry, in my opinion, would be the weekly. If I were to get in earlier, I can maybe get in 50% of my position and then add the rest once the weekly triggers. And that's pretty much it for Apple. On Apple, there are some additional targets, as we can see here. So if we do break above, you have one target here at 213.43, and then of course that broader information around 215.38, 215.50, and then the wick up here. The stop loss, if I were to get in this, so if I'm going to get in this on the daily, I'm probably going to use this low right here, this inside bar as my stop loss. So even to this target right here, this wick high, we have a 2-to-1 risk reward. If we even do get to 223, that'll be a nice move to this next broadening formation if we can clear this one with no sell pressure. On the weekly, my stop is going to be a little wider, so something like this. So something just to be mindful of. Another potential one can also be 50% of the weekly candle. So something like this, if you want a little tighter stop. It's a swing trade, so I want to give a little more room. So I would probably be using the lower wick right over here of that inside candle. Other than that, let's look at some news. We don't really have anything tomorrow on Monday, just yellow folder. It's not really anything crazy there. So I don't expect anything too much to happen. We do have Powell talking at 8:30 a.m. before the market opens. So some things to look out for. We may potentially chop tomorrow in anticipation of what he's going to be talking about on Tuesday. We also have some news at 10 a.m. on Tuesday for the Richmond Index. So one thing that I like to look at when I'm looking at news is if I'm going to be in a trade during this time, or I'm going to get into a trade near this time, or even at that time, if the candle triggers at that time, I personally would just leave it alone. While yes, if you get into the trade, it might spike in your direction. It can also spike against you. And depending how quick and volatile that move is when that news comes out, it may blow past your stop loss. So to me, I usually just leave it alone. Or if I am in a trade already and it's hit like let's say my first or second target, I'll move my stop loss to be in profit. So if it does spike against me, at least I leave with something and not let it go and turn into a losing trade. So pretty much it's red and orange folders all throughout the week. So we should have a nice volatile week this week. So something to keep in mind of. Let's look at NVIDIA real quick. NVIDIA still pretty bullish. Whoever's shorting this, Godspeed. If I were to short this, I'll wait at least until the weekly reverses to the downside and breaks that prior week's low. We do have a nice little gap here, but again, I'm not really sold until the weekly reverses. Good old Tesla, nice move up from the prior week. Tesla, I really just look at on a day-to-day basis. We do have earnings coming up on Wednesday, so be mindful of that. I'm probably not going to trade any contra or any options on Tesla as usual until Wednesday anyway, or probably Thursday. Looks like it's after hours for the earnings because the contract's going to be juiced due to the IV increase. So for you SPY lovers, pretty much we're all-time highs, so I wouldn't really be shorting anything unless we get a nice setup. We do have a failed two up on the daily, which can signal a potential move down. The 4 hour has a nice 3-1 setup, so if this does break to the downside off this 4 hour bar, could be a nice move back down to fill this fair value gap. But we also might get bought up here, so just be mindful of that. We can take this to the upside back into time continuity as well. As I mentioned with Apple, if you do take this break to the upside, just be mindful that this is Friday's high, this is Friday's low. So if you take this to the upside, it might chop since the daily hasn't broken yet. What I would probably do if I'm enticed to take this, you can kind of just fib the entire Friday high to low or low to high, it really doesn't matter. And then just use fibs as targets. So if we do break above this high, we can look to take some profit there, so on and so forth. Hmm. Excuse me. So some things to consider. Same thing on 312 down because we have that nice fair value gap and the strat target is pretty far away. We can just fib this wick to the entry and then we can use these fib levels as targets as we go and hit the strat targets down here. Pretty much all I have. If you guys enjoy these weekly watch list videos, let me know in the comments below. As always, if you want me to add a ticker to the watch list for those who are in the groups that I'm in or in my group, just let me know before like 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, or about 5 o'clock, and then I'll make sure to add it to the watch list for the prior day. Other than that, if you guys like this or this was helpful, definitely like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave me a message in the comments, and we'll talk. I will see you guys later on. Enjoy your weekend. And I just realized something. I was literally on the news candle this whole time. Let's go back to the chart. My mistake, guys. I'll probably have to like edit this a little bit. Actually, I'll kind of just flip it. So what I was just saying is what you can do for SPY if you're inclined to take this to the upside. Draw your fib from the top down, and then you can use these fib levels as targets as the strat target goes and gets hit. Same thing to the downside. If you take this 312 down, you can just fib, whoops, fib your entry to the strat target. And now you have additional targets as it goes in your favor. Because what you don't want is for price to get all the way down here. It's right about to hit the target and then it reverses back up when buyers step back in. So you can trim your position as it goes in your favor by taking it off at these levels here. Cool. That's pretty much all I got. I'll see you guys on the next one.